Hey, I'm Hollis, and welcome to the Friendly Fangirl podcast, where I nerd out on the films, shows, and video games that I encounter every week. Be sure to follow this podcast, and please follow my Twitter and blog at Hollis Films to follow my journey experiencing the entertainment industry's greatest stories. Beware of spoilers, you have been warned. I had minimal experience with the Resident Evil franchise until Biohazard came out, which is not a bad title to start with, as it seemed to ignite a new era for the series. This was then followed by Village, which acted as basically a sequel to Ethan's story. Today I'm going to talk about both of them and compare the two chapters of Ethan Winters. Actually, I'm going to start with two big comparisons. The 3 family members versus the 4 houses of Hogwarts. The 4 disciples of Miranda. In Resident Evil 7, you have many encounters with the father in the mansion, the mother out in the boathouse, and his son, and the son in his mega shed full of traps. In Resident Evil 8, we had Lady Dimitrescu in her castle, the doll thing in the house on the cliff, that disgusting abomination in the swamp, and good old Heisenberg in his factory. In both games, each major boss had their own area, or level, or dungeon, whatever you want to call it. Each boss had some crazy, probably disgusting ability. Their levels were uniquely designed. Village had an opportunity to have more dynamic level design, since it was, an entire European village and not just some Louisiana bayou. The concept of Evie was real interesting. The twist of her being the grandma was iconic. Like, you spent the whole game seeing her pop up randomly everywhere, and it was creepy and unnerving. I feel like people joked like, LOL, yeah, grandma is the final boss. Well, she was, LOL. And surprise, the crazy old lady wandering around the village was also the final boss, Miranda herself. Honestly, what was the point of her altered disguise? Evie's reign of terror was due to circumstance, with the Bakers just being in the wrong place at the wrong time and being too nice. Mother Miranda had a whole cult for years and had an organized criminal organization. Out of the two, Evie was more creepy, and her story was a bit of a fun mystery as we fans kept trying to relate her to the Umbrella Corporation. So, gameplay is mostly similar as to first-person shooter survival horror games. Gameplay in Village is definitely refined from Biohazard. First of all, there are a lot more puzzles in the game, a whole shop system, courtesy of the Duke. I feel like more ammo was available, especially with the upgraded craft system and upgraded inventory. And there are so many variations of enemies as compared to the identical goop monsters roaming the bayou. I will say bosses were equally fun in both games, and both games had levels that stripped you of all of your weapons and sense of security. The dollhouse being by far the scariest of the two. So overall, both of these Resident Evil titles are solid gaming experiences. 7 still holds up today, with 8 being a bigger and better follow-up. I love Village's gothic European werewolf aesthetic, but for me, Biohazard just has this nostalgia to it that I can trace all the way back to its demo. The summer before release, the demo was the new PT. Everyone tried to get all the possible endings and hunted down all the secrets and puzzles.
Welcome to the family, son.
That demo hit different and really set the bar of expectations of what Biohazard could be. And in the end, all the longtime Resident Evil fans dubbed 7 as a new beginning for the series, and I feel that energy every time I revisit the game. Supernatural Season 11. So, season premiere. It's like the zombie apocalypse, but darkness? Speaking of the darkness, a lot of lore needed to be explained, as this is something not even Feral Cass or even Crowley knew anything about.
She's been locked away since the beginning of time. She even know what a cheeseburger is?
Crowley takes in young Darkness and raises her like his own. That happened. Unfortunately, trying to find a way to defeat the darkness leads to Sam being lured to Lucifer. The mid-season finale was all sorts of crazy as Darkness survives a smiting and Lucifer escapes the cage. Oh, how did he escape? He used Cass's vessel. That was hella cursed, guys. I never want to see Lucifer be shot again. They put God in a t-shirt and had him play guitar. I hate this show. Then they put God in an apron and had him make morning pancakes. I really hate this show. Befouled. What's good for the goose is what's good for the gander. Episode before the finale was dope. Heroes and villains teamed up together and gave everything they had to defeating the darkness. But as has been the theme of the last few episodes, it all boiled down to a family counseling. We had a family therapy session between God and Lucifer. Then God had to go to counseling with his sister, and I guess sibling love won the battle. Season finale ended up with Sam getting kidnapped by some men of letters lady and Dean reunited with his resurrected mom. Yup. Again, the filler episodes are where it's at. The baby episode was fun and creative, with every shot taken exclusively within the car. The Lizzie Borden episode turns into an Amara episode with a small appearance of a baby Finn Wolfhard. Case of the Haunted Furry Head turns into a Case of Haunted Masks, which I swear was an episode of Buffy and or Goosebumps. Jodie Mills is back for a few episodes. Pleasure as always. And there's an awesome episode with an awesome dinner scene with the Winchesters, Mama Mills, and her 2 foster daughters. Quality content. Also, World War II time travel episode also included the Lucifer's using Cass's vessel reveal. I love the episode where the boys work on a case Bobby once worked on with his broski, and there were a lot of cool non-linear back and forth parallels as they solved the case. Pretty cool. MCU has been a bit mid, though acceptable to some extent. I can't stress enough how much it hasn't been the same since Endgame, but I really wanted Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to be good, and you know what? It was. I wouldn't say it's the best in the trilogy. For me, Volume 1 is GOAT, but after I saw the film in theaters last weekend, I really couldn't think of anything wrong with it. I'm sure it can be nitpicked, but overall it was a solid film. Keeping the vibes and themes of the other two, it was also a solid end to the trilogy. I did get choked up here and there, and that's more than I can say for any of the other films. Volume 3 holds its own and shows that the MCU still has potential to carry on. I never thought we'd get the whole backstory about Rocket's experiments.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Let alone it to be the central plot line of the movie. As soon as we were introduced to Rocket's old cellmates, I knew that we were going to watch them all die and be upset about it. But in the end, justice was served, and a lovely zoo was welcomed to the newly rebuilt Nowhere. Shout out to the penguin standing awkwardly in the dance party at the end. I'm also glad Quill didn't end up with the other Gamora, as the other Gamora is totally different and has found a new life post-Endgame. But her journey with the Guardians, however weird, I think helped the lot go through the loss of their own Gamora. Meanwhile, Nebula is over here being the actual MVP of the squad. Drax was iconic as usual. So obviously, I sat through the credits and saw that Star-Lord will return. Like, how? Drax, Mantis, and Nebula received solid-ish endings. Gamora, Rocket, and Groot received endings even though they're still in action and can show up at any time. And Quill kinda retired to Earth and mows neighbors' lawns now. If I never saw any of these guys again, well, it's bittersweet to say, but I wouldn't be upset. To be honest, I'm going through all these MCU releases just waiting for an ending to my future Marvel marathons. Volume 3 is a good candidate, but I guess time will tell. PSA, it's been 5 years since Infinity War. That means Iron Man is officially dead. Star of the week is Robert Downey Jr. RDJ was born in Newark, near Manhattan, to two parents in showbiz. So no surprise, he was exposed to the theater arts as well as ballet, apparently. Appeared in a couple of his dad's films, attended a performing arts school while living in England. The whole shebang. Downey dropped out of high school to pursue a career as an actor, and thus we come to the 80s. He appeared in films such as Tough Turf and Weird Science, but saw his major breakthrough in his first lead role in The Pickup Artist, co-starring Molly Ringwald. A major performance of this time was his role in Less Than Zero, which was actually a strange premonition as Downey played a hopeless drug addict who was losing control of his life. Other 80s roles included Firstborn, Baby It's You, Back to School, and True Believer. Getting into the 90s, Downey found himself amongst the likes of Mel Gibson and Kevin Kline as he starred in films like Chances Are, Soap Dish, Shortcuts, and Air America. He also appeared beside Woody Harrelson in one of Woody's biggest roles, Natural Born Killers. Probably one of his most biggest roles until his MCU days has to be Chaplin, in which he portrayed Charlie Chaplin himself. An Oscar-nominated and BAFTA-winning performance that I definitely have to watch. Other notable projects before his big career setback included Home for the Holidays, Only You, Bowfinger, U.S. Marshals, Restoration, Heart and Souls, and Richard III. Robert Downey Jr. famously saw the worst of the worst as he dealt with the height of his drug addiction at the turn of the century. So many legal troubles, rehab, relapse, more rehab, family drama, a divorce. It was dark times, but a story for the ages because great things were to come. Before I address the metal suit in the room, some notable projects in the 2000s included Zodiac with Mark Ruffalo, Scanner Darkly with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, The Singing Detective, Gothica, Wonder Boys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, Good Night and Good Luck. He appeared alongside Ben Stiller and Jack Black in some crazy comedy, Tropic Thunder, which actually gave Downey his second Oscar nomination. Being at the peak of his career, other films he was in included The Soloist, Due Date, The Judge, and one of my personal favorites, Sherlock Holmes. I'm sorry, Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller, but Downey, this is different than Tony Stark. Sherlock is an actual character, a Golden Globe winning performance. Both of the Sherlock Holmes movies are amongst my favorite Downey performances. He owns the Holmes role and stands out amongst all the other modern portrayals of the character. But of course, that's not what he's known for. In 2008, Robert Downey Jr.'s life changed forever when he appeared in the film that began the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man. This is Downey's legacy. Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame.
I am Iron Man.
No words can describe how iconic Downey's Tony Stark is. We love it 3000. In a post-Endgame world, Downey still has a lot ahead. A third Sherlock Holmes movie has been rumored for 10 years, so maybe they'll actually make it soon. He's doing a remake of Hitchcock's Vertigo. He's got what looks like to be a mini-series coming up called The Sympathizer, and the closest to release is his appearance in Oppenheimer. Downey's life is a story of highs and lows. He's a story of comebacks and a symbol of perseverance. The entertainment industry is lucky to have him around. We'll all enjoy his projects for years to come.
That's it for this week. Again, follow me on Twitter or leave a comment, and let me know what you've been fangirling over this week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week.